Prince Tund stood at the tall windows of his chamber, looking out at the vast lands of Bakara. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He was a young man of 25 years, strong and handsome, with eyes that carried the weight of responsibility. His father, King Oba, had ruled these lands for 30 years with wisdom and strength. Now it was time for Tund to prepare for his own future as king. But tonight his heart felt troubled. "My son," King Oba's voice came from the doorway. The old king walked slowly into the room, his royal robes flowing behind him. "Why do you stand here alone? Tomorrow is an important day." Tund turned to face his father. "I know, father. Princess Lola arrives tomorrow." "Yes," the king nodded. "The princess of the eastern valleys. This marriage will bring peace between our kingdoms. Our people will prosper. Trade will flourish. It is a good match." Tund bowed his head respectfully. "I understand my duty, father. I will do what is best for Bakara." King Oba studied his son's face. "You have never met the princess, but she comes from a good family. Her father, King Deli, is an honorable man. Give her a chance, my son. Sometimes duty and happiness can walk together." After his father left, Tund remained at the window. He thought about his life, about the choices that were made for him before he could speak. He was born to be king. He was raised to lead. And now he would marry a woman he had never seen, never spoken to, never laughed with. This was the way of royalty. This was his path. Far below in the palace, in the servants' quarters, life moved at a different pace. Here there were no grand decisions about kingdoms and alliances. Here people worried about daily bread, about keeping their positions, about surviving another day of hard work. Amma knelt on the floor, scrubbing the stones until they gleamed. She was a small woman with gentle features and tired eyes. For 3 years she had worked in the palace, rising before dawn and sleeping long after the moon had climbed into the sky. She cleaned chambers, carried water, washed linens, and served meals. She did all of this without complaint, without expectation of praise. Nobody noticed Amma. She moved through the palace like air, invisible and silent. "Amma?" The sharp voice of Mama Kemi cut through the quiet. Mama Kemi was the head housekeeper, a large woman with a voice that could shake the walls. "Stop daydreaming, girl. There is much work to be done." Amma jumped to her feet quickly. "Yes, Mama Kemi. I am sorry." "The princess arrives tomorrow at dawn," Mama Kemi said, her hands on her wide hips. "Everything must be perfect. The queen has ordered fresh flowers in every room. The floors must shine like water. The curtains must be washed and hung. We have no time for laziness." "I understand, Mama," Amma said softly. "I will work through the night if needed." Mama Kemi's face softened slightly. "You are a good girl, Amma. Quiet and hard-working. Not like these other lazy servants who gossip and waste time. Now go help with the eastern wing. That is where the princess will stay." Amma gathered her cleaning supplies and hurried through the long corridors of the palace. She had walked these halls 1,000 times, but tonight they felt different. There was excitement in the air. Servants rushed back and forth, carrying expensive fabrics and golden decorations. Everyone was talking about the princess. "I heard she is very beautiful," one young servant girl whispered to another. "They say she wears jewels from across the sea," the other replied. "Do you think the prince will love her?" "Love?" The first girl laughed. "Princes do not marry for love. They marry for power." Amma listened to their talk but said nothing. She never spoke unless spoken to. She had learned long ago that it was safer to be invisible. Important people did not notice servants, and that was good. When you were noticed, it usually meant trouble. She reached the eastern wing and began her work. The rooms here were magnificent, with high ceilings painted in bright colors and floors covered in beautiful carpets. Amma cleaned each surface carefully, making sure not a speck of dust remained. She arranged fresh flowers in golden vases. She smoothed the silk cushions on the chairs. She worked until her back ached and her hands were red and raw. As midnight approached, most of the other servants had finished their tasks and gone to rest. But Amma remained, wanting everything to be absolutely perfect. She knew she would never meet the princess. She knew the princess would never know her name. But still she took pride in her work. Finally, exhausted, she made her way back to the servants' quarters. It was a simple building behind the main palace, with small rooms where the workers slept on thin mats. Amma shared her room with 3 other maids. They were already sleeping when she entered quietly. She lay down on her mat and closed her eyes. Tomorrow the princess would arrive. The palace would be filled with celebration. Prince Tund would meet his future bride. And life would continue as it always had. Amma thought briefly about the prince. She had seen him many times, of course. All the servants had. He would walk through the corridors, tall and dignified, discussing matters with his advisors. He had a kind face, she thought. Once, when she had dropped a tray of dishes, he had been nearby. She had been terrified, waiting for him to be angry. But he had simply helped her pick up the pieces and told her to be more careful. He had smiled at her. That was 2 years ago, and she was certain he had forgotten it the moment he walked away. But she had never forgotten. It was the only time in 3 years that anyone from the royal family had truly looked at her, had seen her as a person rather than just another servant. She pulled her thin blanket over her shoulders. Tomorrow was a new day. The princess would come. The engagement would be celebrated. And Amma would continue her quiet life in the shadows of the palace, unnoticed and unremarkable. She had no way of knowing that in 3 days, everything would change. 3 days had passed since Princess Lola arrived at the palace. She was indeed beautiful, with smooth dark skin and bright intelligent eyes. Prince Tund had met her formally in the throne room, surrounded by advisors and nobles. They had exchanged polite greetings and proper words. She seemed pleasant enough, but they were still strangers to each other. The wedding was planned for 3 days from now. The palace was alive with preparations. Cooks prepared great feasts. Tailors sewed magnificent clothes. Musicians practiced their songs. Everyone worked from sunrise to sunset, making ready for the grand celebration that would unite 2 kingdoms. Amma worked harder than ever. She carried heavy baskets of laundry, scrubbed floors until her knees were bruised, and helped in the kitchens when extra hands were needed. By the 3rd evening she was exhausted beyond measure. Her whole body ached and her head felt strangely light. As the sun began to set, dark clouds gathered in the sky. The air became heavy and thick. Old Mama Kemi looked up at the darkening horizon and shook her head. "A storm is coming," she said. "A big one. You servants, make sure everything is tied down and secured." The storm arrived with frightening speed. Wind howled through the palace grounds like a wild beast. Rain fell in thick sheets so heavy that you could not see 5 steps ahead. Thunder crashed and lightning split the sky with brilliant white light. The servants' quarters, built of simple mud bricks and thatch, could not withstand such fury. Water poured through the roof. It ran under the doors. Soon the floors were covered in dirty water that rose higher and higher. The servants scrambled to save their few belongings, lifting their sleeping mats and climbing onto tables and chairs. "Everyone out!" Mama Kemi shouted above the noise of the storm. "Go to the main palace. Quickly!" The servants ran through the rain, soaked to the bone, seeking shelter in the storage rooms and hallways of the main palace building. Mama Kemi moved among them, counting heads, making sure everyone was safe and accounted for. Amma huddled in a corner of a storage room with a dozen other servants. They were all wet and shivering. Someone brought blankets. Someone else brought hot tea. But Amma could not stop shaking. She felt strange, not just cold but sick. Her head pounded. Her stomach twisted with pain. "Are you well, Amma?" asked Bola, another young maid who sometimes worked beside her. I drank some water earlier," Amma whispered. "From the well behind the quarters. My throat was so dry from working." Bola's eyes widened. "That well?" "Amma, no. The rains from last week made it dirty. Mama Kemi told everyone not to drink from it. Did you not hear?" But Amma had been working in a far part of the palace when that warning was given. She had not heard. And now the contaminated water was making her sick. Very sick. As the night grew darker, Amma's condition worsened. Fever burned through her body. The room spun around her. She could not think clearly. Everything seemed like a dream, confused and frightening. She stumbled to her feet, not knowing what she was doing. "Amma, sit down." Bola tried to grab her arm, but Amma pulled away. I need air," Amma mumbled. "Too hot, cannot breathe." She staggered out of the storage room into the hallway. The storm still raged outside, but inside the palace was quiet. Most servants were sleeping now, exhausted from the day's panic. The royal family and nobles were in their own wings, far from where the servants sheltered. Amma walked like a person in a dream. Her feet moved, but she did not know where they carried her. The fever burned away all sense of direction. She turned left, then right, then climbed a set of stairs. The palace was a maze of corridors, and in her confused state, everything looked the same. She needed to lie down. She needed rest. Her body screamed for relief from the fever and pain. She saw a door slightly open and pushed through it. Inside was a room with a large bed. She did not see the fine furniture, the expensive carpets, the royal symbols on the walls. She only saw the bed. Amma collapsed onto it, her strength completely gone. Within moments she fell into a deep, feverish sleep. She did not know where she was. She did not know whose bed she lay upon. It was Prince Tun's private chamber. The prince was far from his room at that moment. The storm had caused damage to part of the palace wall, and he was in an emergency council meeting with his father and the chief advisors. They discussed repairs and counted the cost. They checked on the safety of all the palace residents. The meeting lasted for hours. Finally, near midnight, Prince Tund was released from his duties. He walked slowly through the quiet corridors toward his chamber. He was tired from a long day of wedding preparations and now the storm crisis. He wanted only to sleep. He pushed open his chamber door and stepped inside. The room was dark except for the faint glow of moonlight breaking through the clouds. He moved toward his bed and stopped suddenly. Someone was there. His hand went to the knife at his belt. Thieves? Assassins? His mind raced through possibilities. But as his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he saw it was not a warrior or criminal. It was a young woman lying very still on his bed. He moved closer, cautious. In the dim light he recognized her face. It was one of the servants, though he did not know her name. He had seen her around the palace, always working quietly, always keeping her head down. What was she doing here? Then he noticed her condition. Her skin was burning hot. Sweat covered her face. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. She was not sleeping peacefully. She was unconscious with fever. Prince Tun's first instinct was not anger but concern. This woman was gravely ill. He rushed to his door and called for the guards in the hallway. Fetch the healer. Immediately. And bring water and clean cloths. The guards stared past him into the room, seeing the servant woman in the prince's bed. Their eyes widened. But Tun's commanding voice left no room for questions. Now. She is very sick. As the guards ran to obey, Prince Tund returned to the unconscious woman. He did not think about scandal or reputation. He thought only that someone needed help and he had the power to provide it. But already whispers were beginning. The news spread through the palace like wildfire. By dawn, every servant, every guard, every noble knew the story. A maid had been found in Prince Tund's bed. The whispers started quietly but grew louder with each telling. Some said she had seduced the prince. Others claimed she used dark magic. The story changed and grew with each mouth that spoke it, becoming more scandalous with every version. Amma woke in the healer's quarters, her fever broken but her body weak. For a moment she did not remember anything. Then it all came flooding back. The storm. The contaminated water. The terrible sickness. Walking through the palace in confusion. And then, nothing. She remembered collapsing on a bed, but whose bed? Where had she been? The old healer, a woman named Mama Aduni, sat beside her with a grave expression. Child, you are in serious trouble. Do you remember what happened last night? Amma shook her head weakly. I was sick. So sick. I needed to lie down. I found a room. You found the prince's chamber? Mama Aduni said quietly. You collapsed in his bed. The guards saw you there. Now the whole palace speaks of nothing else. Amma's blood turned to ice. No. No, that cannot be. I would never. I did not know. I was confused from the fever. I believe you, child. But belief and proof are different things. And there are many in this palace who will not believe you. Within the hour, Amma was dragged before the Queen Mother. Queen Folake was a tall, imposing woman who had ruled alongside her husband for many years. She sat on a smaller throne in her private receiving room, her face carved from stone, her eyes cold with fury. Explain yourself, girl, the Queen Mother commanded. Her voice could have frozen fire. Amma fell to her knees, trembling. Your Majesty, I swear on my life I meant no disrespect. I was sick with fever from bad water. I did not know where I was going. I thought it was just an empty room. I would never deliberately enter the prince's chamber. Please, you must believe me. Believe you? The Queen Mother's laugh was harsh. A common maid found in my son's bed 3 days before his wedding, and you ask me to believe it was an accident? Do you think I am a fool? No, Your Majesty. I speak only the truth. The truth, the Queen Mother spat the word like poison, is that you have brought shame to this royal house. You have insulted the princess. You have put our alliance with the Eastern Valleys in danger. Whether you planned this or stumbled into it makes no difference. The damage is done. At that moment, Princess Lola entered the room. She had heard the commotion and came to see what was happening. Her face was carefully controlled, showing neither anger nor sadness. She studied Amma with intelligent eyes. So this is the maid, Princess Lola said softly. The one who has caused such excitement in the palace. Amma bowed her head to the floor. Princess, please forgive me. I never meant to offend you or cause any trouble. I was sick, confused. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake. A new voice joined the conversation. Lady Beezy swept into the room, her expensive robes rustling. She was a noblewoman of the court, beautiful and proud, with a sharp tongue. Your Majesty, this is clearly witchcraft. This common girl used dark magic to bewitch the prince. How else could she find her way to his private chamber? Guards stand at every corner. Doors are locked. Yet somehow she appears in his bed like a demon in the night. Other noble ladies who had gathered to watch nodded in agreement. The whispers grew louder. Witchcraft, they said. She must be a witch. No. Amma cried out. I am no witch. I am just a maid who drank bad water and became sick. Please, someone must believe me. The Queen Mother raised her hand for silence. Whether witch or opportunist, the result is the same. You have disgraced this house. I decree that you be banished from the kingdom immediately. You will be taken beyond our borders and left to fend for yourself. You will never return to Bakara on pain of death. Mother, wait. Prince Tun strode into the room. He had been informed of the gathering and came as quickly as he could. This is not just. The Queen Mother turned to her son, her expression fierce. You dare to defend this girl? After she has made a fool of you before your bride? I defend truth, Tun said firmly. He looked at Princess Lola. And I hope the princess values truth as well. Princess Lola studied the prince carefully. I do value truth, Your Highness. Please speak. Prince Tun turned to address everyone in the room. Last night, when I found this woman in my chamber, she was unconscious with fever. She did not seduce me. She did not speak to me. She was gravely ill. The healer confirmed she was poisoned by contaminated water. In her delirium, she wandered lost through the palace and collapsed in the first room she found. This is not the act of a seductress or a witch. This is the act of a sick, confused woman who made an innocent mistake. Innocent? Lady Beezy laughed mockingly. How convenient that her innocent mistake led her directly to your bed, my prince. Of all the rooms in this vast palace, she found yours. That is what troubles me, Tun said, his eyes narrowing. Yes, Lady Beezy, it does seem remarkably convenient. Too convenient, perhaps. Which makes me wonder if this was truly an accident at all. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the prince. What are you suggesting? The Queen Mother asked slowly. I am suggesting, Prince Tun said, that before we banish an innocent woman, we should investigate how this truly happened. Who knew about the contaminated water? Who saw Amma that night? How did she pass through guarded corridors? There are questions that need answers. Princess Lola stepped forward. The prince is wise. Justice requires investigation, not assumption. I support his request. The Queen Mother looked between her son and the princess. Finally she nodded curtly. Very well. You have 3 days. 3 days to prove this girl's innocence. But if you cannot, she will be banished and we will speak no more of this scandal. The wedding will proceed as planned. 3 days is enough, Prince Tun said. He looked at Amma, still kneeling on the floor. I will find the truth. Prince Tun sat in his private study with Princess Lola. It was strange, he thought, that their first real conversation was happening because of a scandal. But as they talked, he found himself impressed by her sharp mind and calm manner. We must approach this logically, Princess Lola said, her fingers tapping thoughtfully on the arm of her chair. If someone planned this, they needed several things. They needed Amma to be sick. They needed her to be confused enough to wander. And they needed her to find your chamber specifically. The contaminated water made her sick, Tun said. But Mama Kemi warned all the servants about that well days ago. Why did Amma not hear the warning? That is our first question to answer, Lola agreed. They summoned Mama Kemi to the study. The old housekeeper came nervously, bowing low before the prince and princess. She had never been called to speak with royalty before. Mama Kemi, when did you warn the servants about the bad water? Tund asked gently. 3 days ago, Your Highness. I gathered everyone in the main courtyard after the morning meal and told them clearly. The well behind the servants' quarters was contaminated by the recent rains. No one should drink from it. Was everyone present? Princess Lola asked. Mama Kemi thought carefully. All except, wait, Amma was not there. I had sent her to the far gardens that morning to help with the princess's welcome preparations. She was arranging flowers all day. She must not have heard the warning. So someone knew Amma did not hear the warning, Tun said slowly. Someone who knew she would be thirsty after working all day in the gardens. Someone who might encourage her to drink from that well. Princess Lola leaned forward. Mama Kemi, who gave Amma her work assignment that day. Who sent her to the gardens? Mama Kemi's eyes widened. It was not me, Your Highness. Usually I assign all the servants their tasks. But that morning Lady Beezy came to me. She said she wanted everything perfect for the princess's arrival. She insisted that Amma specifically should work in the gardens because Amma had the best eye for arranging flowers. I thought it was kind of her to take such interest in the preparations. Tund and Lola exchanged meaningful glances. Lady Beezy's name had come up again. Thank you, Mama Kemi, Tund said. You may go. But please speak to no one about this conversation. After the housekeeper left, Tund stood and began pacing. Lady Beezy. She has been at court for 2 years. She comes from a noble family. Her father is a wealthy merchant. She has always been attentive to me. Attentive? Lola raised an eyebrow. She made it clear she hoped to marry me, Tund admitted. Before our engagement was announced, she often found reasons to speak with me, to be near me. My mother encouraged it. But when the alliance with your father was arranged, Lady Beezy's hopes were ended. A woman scorned, Lola said quietly. That gives her motive. But we need proof. They spent the next day carefully investigating. They spoke to guards, asking who had been in the corridors the night of the storm. They talked to servants, asking about Lady Beezy's movements. Piece by piece, a picture began to form. One young guard named Kofi provided crucial information. Yes, Your Highness, I did see Lady Beezy that night. It was strange because she was in the servants' area during the storm. I asked if she was lost and she said she was checking to make sure everyone was safe. She was very kind, I thought. She even gave blankets to some of the wet servants. Did you see her speak with anyone specifically? Lola asked. Kofi thought hard. Yes, she spoke with that maid Amma. The sick one. Lady Beezy gave her something to drink, I think. She said it was herbal tea for strength. Then later, I saw Amma wandering in the upper corridors looking very confused. And where were you when Amma was wandering? Tund pressed. Lady Beezy had asked me to check on a broken shutter at the other end of the palace, Kofi said. She said it was urgent. So I left my post for a few minutes. When I returned, Amma was gone. The pieces were falling into place. Lady Beezy had sent Amma to work all day without hearing the water warning. She had waited until Amma drank from the contaminated well. Then, during the storm when Amma was already sick, she had given her something else. Something to make her more confused, more delirious. And finally, she had sent the guard away so Amma could wander unsupervised into the royal wing. But they still needed absolute proof. They needed Lady Beezy to reveal herself. Princess Lola suggested a clever plan. They would set a trap. That evening, Prince Tund arranged a small gathering in the garden. He invited Lady Beezy and several other nobles. He made sure to appear troubled and distant from Princess Lola. He wanted Lady Beezy to think the scandal was working, that his engagement was weakening. Lady Beezy arrived in her finest dress, her smile bright. Your Highness, how good of you to invite me. These have been such difficult days for you. Indeed, Tund said, playing his part. This scandal has caused much trouble. The princess and I are having disagreements about how to proceed. Lady Beezy's eyes gleamed with interest. That is unfortunate, Your Highness. Perhaps the alliance was not as strong as everyone believed. Perhaps not, Tund agreed. He led her to walk apart from the others, near a fountain where Princess Lola was hidden behind a screen, listening. Lady Beezy, you are a woman of intelligence. Tell me honestly, do you believe that maid's story? Do you think she innocently wandered into my chamber? Lady Beezy laughed softly. Your Highness, I think she got exactly what she wanted. These servant girls are cunning. They see an opportunity and they take it. She probably hoped you would be so enchanted that you would forget your duty to the princess. You think she planned it? Tund asked. Of course, Lady Beezy said confidently, not realizing she was condemning herself. Though I admit she was cleverer than I expected. The fever was a nice touch. It made her seem innocent. If I had not given her that extra sleeping herb in the tea, she might have actually succeeded in seducing you when you found her. The words hung in the air. Lady Beezy's face went white as she realized what she had just said. You gave her the sleeping herb? Tund's voice was cold now, all pretense gone. You just confessed to drugging her. Lady Beezy stumbled backward. No, I did not. Princess Lola stepped out from behind the screen. We heard everything, Lady Beezy. Your own words condemn you. Guards appeared from the shadows where they had been waiting. Lady Beezy looked around wildly, seeking escape, but there was none. She fell to her knees. Please? I did it for love. I did it for us, Tund. That princess does not care for you. She only wants the alliance. But I truly love you. Love? Tund's voice shook with anger. You call it love to poison an innocent woman? To destroy her reputation? To nearly cause her death? That is not love, Lady Beezy. That is evil. The Queen Mother was summoned. When she heard the full confession and saw the evidence, her face became hard as stone. Lady Beezy, you have betrayed this court and nearly destroyed an innocent life. You are banished from Bakara forever. You will leave at dawn and never return. Lady Beezy was dragged away, crying and pleading, but no one listened. Justice had been served. The morning after Lady Beezy's banishment, Prince Tund personally went to find Amma. She was still in the healer's quarters, recovering her strength. When she saw the prince enter, she immediately tried to kneel, but he gently stopped her. Please do not kneel. You have been through enough, Tund said kindly. I came to tell you that your name has been cleared. Everyone now knows the truth. You are innocent of all accusations. Tears filled Amma's eyes. Your Highness, I do not know how to thank you. You saved my life. You believed me when no one else did. I believed in justice, Tund corrected. And you should also thank Princess Lola. She was the one who helped uncover the truth. Without her wisdom and clever planning, Lady Beezy might never have confessed. I owe you both everything, Amma whispered. You owe us nothing, Tund smiled. But there is something I would ask of you. The princess has requested that you join her household. She needs trustworthy people around her, people of good character. Would you be willing to serve as her personal attendant? Amma could hardly believe what she was hearing. To go from nearly being banished to serving the princess directly was beyond anything she could have imagined. I would be honored, Your Highness. Truly honored. The wedding day arrived 2 days later. The palace was decorated with thousands of flowers. Musicians played joyful songs. People from all across the kingdom came to witness the union of Prince Tund and Princess Lola. The sun shone brightly in a clear blue sky, as if the heavens themselves approved of this match. But something had changed between the prince and princess. Before the scandal, they had been polite strangers brought together by duty. Now, having worked side by side to uncover the truth, they had become genuine partners. They had seen each other's character tested and found it strong. As they stood before the elders and spoke their vows, Prince Tund looked into Princess Lola's eyes and saw not just a political alliance, but a woman of intelligence, courage, and fairness. And Princess Lola looked at Prince Tund and saw not just a future king, but a man who valued truth and protected the innocent, even when it was difficult. I vow to stand beside you, Tund said, not just as your husband but as your partner in all things. Together we will rule with wisdom and justice. I vow to honor you, Lola replied, not just as my husband but as my equal. Together we will build a kingdom where truth matters more than rumor, and where every person, no matter how humble, is treated with dignity. The crowd cheered. King Oba, watching his son marry, felt his heart swell with pride. This was better than he had hoped. This was not just an alliance of kingdoms, but a true partnership built on respect and shared values. After the ceremony there was a great feast. Tables were laden with roasted meats, fresh fruits, sweet breads and spiced wines. Everyone ate and danced and celebrated. Even the servants were given special food and allowed to join in the festivities. Amma stood to the side, watching the joy around her. She still could not quite believe how her life had changed. Just days ago she had been facing banishment and disgrace. Now she wore clean new clothes and stood among the princess's household staff. Other servants looked at her with new respect. Some even apologized for believing the rumors about her. Amma, Princess Lola called to her. Come, sit beside me. Amma hesitated. Your Majesty, I cannot. It would not be proper. I am just a servant. You are my attendant now, Lola said firmly. And more than that, you are a woman who suffered for truth. In my household you will be treated with respect. Now please sit. I wish to speak with you. Amma sat nervously beside the new queen. Lola smiled at her. I have been thinking. You have a good heart and a strong spirit. I need someone I can trust, someone who understands both the servants and the nobles. I want you to be more than just an attendant. I want you to be my advisor. Advisor? Amma's voice was barely a whisper. But Your Majesty, I have no education. I cannot read or write well. I am not trained in politics or diplomacy. You have something more valuable than education, Lola said. You have lived among the common people. You know their struggles and their needs. When I make decisions that affect the kingdom, I need to hear voices from all levels of society, not just nobles who have never known hardship. Will you help me? Amma felt tears threaten again. I will serve you in any way I can, Your Majesty. I promise to always speak truth to you even when it is difficult. That is all I ask, Lola said warmly. In the weeks and months that followed, the new king and queen proved true to their wedding vows. Prince Tund became King Tund when his father peacefully stepped down, and together with Queen Lola, they brought many changes to Bakara. They decreed that all accusations must be properly investigated before punishment was given. They established a council where common people could bring their concerns directly to the throne. They improved the living conditions for palace servants, ensuring clean water and safe quarters. They made it clear that justice applied equally to everyone, whether noble or common. Amma flourished in her new role. At first she was shy and uncertain, but Queen Lola encouraged her to speak her mind. Slowly Amma's confidence grew. She began to offer insights about how royal decisions affected ordinary people. The king and queen listened to her counsel and often adjusted their plans based on her perspective. One evening, a year after the wedding, Amma was walking through the palace gardens. She paused by a fountain looking up at the stars. So much had changed. She thought about the frightened, invisible servant girl she had been. That girl had believed she would spend her whole life scrubbing floors and carrying water, unnoticed and unimportant. Amma, a voice called. It was Kofi, the young guard who had given testimony against Lady Beezy. Over the months, he and Amma had become friends. He was kind and honest and he made her laugh. Why do you stand here alone? I am thinking about how strange life can be, Amma said. How one terrible night changed everything. It changed because good people fought for truth, Kofi said. The king and queen could have taken the easy path. They could have simply banished you and avoided scandal. But they chose justice instead. They are good rulers, Amma agreed. And you are a good advisor, Kofi added, moving closer to her. The whole kingdom speaks of Queen Lola's wise counselor who understands the people's hearts. Amma laughed softly. They give me too much credit. I only speak what I know. That is why they value you, Kofi said. He reached out and gently took her hand. Just as I value you. Amma looked at him in surprise. She saw in his eyes something she had never expected to see. Affection. Respect. Perhaps even love. Kofi, she began. You do not have to say anything now, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. You are remarkable, Amma. You always have been, even when you thought you were invisible. As seasons passed, the story of the maid who was falsely accused became legend in Bakara. Parents told it to their children. Teachers used it in their lessons. It became a tale about the importance of seeking truth, about not judging based on appearances, about how even the most humble person deserves justice. King Tund and Queen Lola ruled for many prosperous years. Their partnership, born from adversity, became a model for the kingdom. They showed that true leadership required not just power but wisdom, fairness, and the courage to do what was right even when it was difficult. Amma eventually married Kofi in a simple but joyful ceremony. Queen Lola herself attended, honoring the woman who had become not just her advisor but her friend. Amma continued to serve the queen faithfully, and in time she helped train other common-born individuals to serve in the palace, ensuring that the voices of all people would always be heard. And so, from a terrible storm and a cruel conspiracy came something beautiful. A kingdom learned that justice matters more than convenience. A prince and princess discovered genuine partnership. And a humble maid found her voice and her purpose, proving that character and truth shine brighter than any crown. The kingdom of Bakara prospered not because it was perfect, but because its leaders remembered one simple lesson. Every person matters and truth must always prevail.